Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another Limbus Company reaction. Today we are going to be continuing from the boss battle 2 that I listened to last time and listening to number 3 because apparently 3 comes after 2 and that's how numbers work. I'm just going to be doing the one song today, so this video is probably pretty short, but I didn't want to cross this with something else that was unrelated, so hopefully there's not another mystery theme in here. It didn't look like there was, but I did re-listen to number 2, so I'm kind of fresh into what that sounded like and what to expect out of 3. I guess we'll find out. So without further ado, let's go. Ooh. I'm imagining this starts right off of the other one. The scale makes sense if that is the case. The rising energy from the end of the last one into this, that fits very well. Yep. Playing a lot more into that ominous tension. Appreciate a good drum fill break. Ooh. Oh. Wow. I didn't expect that pattern. That was an interesting step. Is this going to be the end? Sounds like it would end there if it had the chance to, but I know that Lunar Teak tends to just kind of cut these as they loop. So this one definitely is scaling up that energy. It just goes to 110% after the end of that last one. It was already scaling up so much, it's kind of hard to tell how much farther you can take it, and this proves that there was still more before the ceiling, and I don't even know if they hit the ceiling with this one. They got really close, it sounded like it, but also it being able to loop again kind of affects whether or not I feel like it's going to be able to cap out somewhere. But this had some insane energy to it. This is like the realization moment. This is the moment where they're just like, okay, all cards on the table. I have no other options here. Time to kick some ass. I can imagine easily that this is the theme that probably haunts a lot of you in your sleep. This sounds like the enemy you're against, the character you're up against in this case, is probably just going full out 110%, just like the song does, and has probably killed many of you many a times. It just has that energy to it, that larger than life final boss sound that just keeps scaling, and the intensity on it. And those little accent things in there, like that drum fill, I love that. I think I've heard it a few times before in other songs I've listened to, so maybe that's supposed to be a motif of some sort, but it's also kind of just a very common fill that is a really common pattern, usually just there to add some cinematic tension. It's used in a bunch of stuff. You want a direct example of that? The Terminator theme is pretty much just that sound and that motif. It's possible that that's supposed to be referencing something of that sort, but either way, I've heard that multiple times in multiple songs, and it's never really consistent where it shows up. Maybe there's a character in this game that specifically has it tied to them, and this might have been a reference to it. I don't know, but I've heard that specific fill so many times in my life, it's kind of hard to pinpoint where the origin of it came from. People just started using it at some point, and it's a great one to use, but it's also just used so often for this exact sort of thing. That need for the composer to pull out all of this intensity from the song and make it sound so much more impactful, that's exactly what those sorts of fills do, and that specific one specifically for cinematic versions of it. It's just a pretty common thing, but I wanted to point it out in case people were curious about that, because it did have a pretty solid spotlight in this song a couple of times. So I have a feeling a lot of people probably enjoyed that, and I just wanted to give a little bit of history on the back end. Since I know this is going to be a short video, I'm trying to add a little bit more, all right? Work with me. You know what? I'm trying to teach you stuff. I'm trying to be a teacher here. Let me teach you some things. Get learned, kid. But back on the general side of stuff, there was this moment in this song that had a really big major lift lift in the song. It sounded a lot more bright than the rest of the song around it, both before and after. It tended to drop back into that negative minor sound. But this one moment kind of, you know, it was like a light in the dark. It's like, hey, maybe there's like a moment in this song where the villain has kind of a signal of clarity that hits them, and they're like, hey, wait a minute. Am I the baddie? It kind of hits the same vibe as like a tragic hero energy, or maybe a vigilante who's misunderstood. A lot of stuff like Batman themes, for example, do that exact sort of thing. They are very largely minor keys, but every once in a while they'll hit this very bright and important major note that just brings you up like, oh, there's hope beyond this moment. And then it pulls you back down to the reality of the situation, because that's kind of just Batman's character. So I'm not saying that this character is Batman, but I'm not saying this character is not Batman in some way. I have a feeling there's probably something similar to that vigilantism going on here. Maybe kind of like I said in the last video, this person might not necessarily like what they're doing. Maybe it's just kind of a situation that they have to deal with and they're kind of reluctant to bother with it at the time, but maybe they have to in order to complete their current goal. And despite that unfortunate reality, they're pushing through. Just like Batman doesn't necessarily want to beat up a bunch of people, he just knows he has to, because if he doesn't, nobody will. That's the vibe here. I actually think it might be pretty appropriate to say whoever this is might be a Batman-esque character because of that. This song gave me a lot of information as far as that energy goes, and with that one major lift in the middle of all those minor notes, I'm sitting here like, hey, maybe this guy isn't all bad, but maybe he's not exactly what people were hoping for. He's not the hero they deserve, but he's the hero they need. Another Batman parallel. I think this guy might just be Batman, actually. So am I right on that? Is this basically Limbus Batman himself? I have no clue, but that concept is just kind of funny to me. So tell me if I'm right, tell me if I'm wrong. Obviously, I try my best here, but this is a very small little nugget of information to work from, so if I am incorrect, that makes total sense. But again, just kind of clarify to me whether or not I am accurate at all in the comments below. But that'll be the end of this video, so thank you all so very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you have something else you want me to get to from Limbus, by all means, drop in the comments below. It can also be anything from Project Moon, or if you want to follow me and support me for other stuff in the future, you know how to do all that, and I will see all of you in the next video. Goodbye!